We are now live on HHTV. You may begin.
Well, good evening. My name is Bill Roach, and I'm the chair of the Horizon House Environment Committee, which is putting this program on this evening. And I've got with me, helping me with this, Jeanette Collenberg, Ruth Mulligan, Carol Roach, Sherry Williams, and Jean Durning will be joining us. She's got technical difficulty presently. And tonight, what we'd like to do is really two things. We'd like to introduce you to a sampling we have 13 bills that we're looking at, but we're only going to be talking about 5 or 6 of these in some detail in the interest of time and focus. And then we're also going to have a demonstration of how we can participate easily and quickly in the legislative process. There is a very easy way of expressing your point of view on a bill. And the important part of our role, particularly since I am the chair of a Horizon House committee, I need to be very careful about how I discuss things. My goal is to make sure you're participating. You decide how you wish to, if you participate, whether you wish to support a bill that we're talking about or go against it. The important thing is that you participate and exercise your role as a citizen here in Washington State. And we will get to that after talking first about a set of these bills. We're also asking you to hold your questions until the end of the presentation, until I've shown the last slide. However, the panelists will be, from time to time, as I talk about the various bills, we'll be asking some clarifying questions as a way of trying to get to some of the points in the bill and to sort of get to from the consumer perspective, what does this all mean? So with that in mind, I'd like to start with the first bill, which is the modifying regulation of gas companies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. This is actually an extremely important bill, and it's the second year that they have been trying to consider this, and it requires gas utilities to develop plans to lower the amount of greenhouse gas and move away from fossil fuels as a way of reducing greenhouse gas. And this is basically a response to a setting of the goal that the legislature did a number of years ago of trying to reduce greenhouse gases to 45% below the 1990 levels by 2030. And to do that, we've got to begin putting some things in motion. And one of them is to get the gas utilities to do their part in proposing ways in which they can reduce their impact on greenhouse gas with their production of natural gas. And they're asked to put together what we're calling development plan. They're supposed to be developing plans to achieve a reduction in fossil fuels. It will also limit the expansion of natural gas systems for heating. beginning in 2024. And the other point is that they are also to look at ways of introducing high efficiency electric equipment as a part of their plan. And that will be coming before the Utilities and Transportation Commission, who decides whether they're meeting, whether they're achieving the kind of plans, the kinds of reductions they're supposed to be. And one other interesting point is that authorizes the gas companies to provide renewable hydrogen fuel, which is a new technology, and I think it has some promise, and it's something that we'll be seeing much more development in the coming months. Next is the in sort of along with the first having to do with gas is to enable public utilities to offer incentives to their customers to convert from fossil fuel to electricity for heat. City Light is a good example of a public utility, just as Puget Power is an example of a gas company that we saw on our first slide. And they have asked for that ability. The legislature is required to enable a public utility like this to provide incentives, and so that's what they've asked for, that enabling legislation in order to help meet the same greenhouse gas reduction that they're asking their cohorts as the gas utility. You'll note that both our representatives, Macri and Chop, Nicole Macri and Frank Chop, are co-sponsors, as they were, as I believe Nicole Macri was on the first bill as well. And as you know, City Light is a public utility, and there are many other public utilities throughout the state. That's a very important part of the fuel, the energy mix here. Unfortunately, we need to. This bill, which was in here, we were told just today that the Senate and the House have decided they won't be able to take this any further. So we'll have to pass this by.
Bill, can we ask a couple questions, please?
Of course.
About the electricity and the gas?
Yes, of course. I'm sorry.
One of my concerns is it talks about heat, and I think a lot of people don't mind the idea of gas for heat, but they'd be a little less keen on gas for eliminating gas for cooking. Do these bills apply to gas for cooking?
Well, that depends on what the gas utility decides as the most cost-effective way for them to reduce fossil fuels. That is one of the key parts of this bill, is for them to do a cost analysis to decide where will they get the most reduction. And I suspect that they're going to get quite a bit more reduction in heating, home heating, space heating, and water heating than they would from gas stoves. But it is conceivable that they decide that that's one of the places they need to focus. I suspect in the long run, however, that they will do much more work and focus on the issue of heating, space heating and water heating.
Bill, Ruth and Sherry both have their hands up.
All right. Go ahead.
This is at Ruth's apartment. Jean Durning. I solved my technical problem by walking downstairs.
All right. Well, it's good that you joined us.
And I just wanted to clarify, did you say that the members of the legislature have decided that they will not be successful in pushing this bill?
You mean we're talking about now about the salmon bill?
No, maybe I misunderstood what you
You
had
did.
just said
I am sorry.
about gas, electricity for the gas, greenhouse gas emissions, which
No.
you talked about previously in connection with the city light option. And when that one is talking about heat, that's heat not only for heating interiors, houses and business, homes and businesses, but also hot water.
That's correct. And I am, my long answer to Jeanette's question was really, yes, it's covered. And it's a matter of which of these areas that the gas utility would get the most reduction from. And as I said, it'll probably be in the area of heating both in both space heating and water heating. All right, now that I've
messed it up, can I, Bill, I have a question. What do the gas companies statewide think about this 1776? 1760?
they're not in favor of it. And they have, so that will be a strong lobbying group against the bill.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the gas before I moved on way too quickly, and I'll now go to the utilities. Are there any questions here? I don't hear any. So we will now go on, and at this point, go on from salmon recovery to the next bill, which is again one sponsored by Nicole Macri, but I want to point out that there's quite a bit of bipartisan support for this bill. And this requires new and updated efficiency standards for appliances to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, as stated here. The federal government does put standards on many appliances, but requires the state to put on standards for those appliances that it doesn't cover. And these tend to be the ones listed here: air purifiers, commercial ovens and electrical vehicle supply equipment, and commercial hot food holding cabinets. Those are all will go into the mix of appliances that need to be more efficient over time, and the standards will help achieve that. Are there any other questions about that? This screen?
Yes. Yes, Bill.
Okay.
I'm not clear about this. Does it apply to manufacturing or commercial use, residential use? What does it apply to?
Well, it really only at this point applies mainly to commercial ovens and commercial hot food holding cabinets, as it says here, which is more of a commercial focus than it is a residential focus.
Bill?
Air purifiers could possibly be used by residential, but they need to be purchased, and it would be at the point of purchase that the requirement would occur.
Right. Bill?
Yes.
This is one that I went into in some detail. It's just a great long list of all kinds of things that people have appliances for, and many of them are commercial, as you said, the deep fat fryers and steam cookers and hot food holding cabinets and all sorts of other things, air compression and so on like that. But there are also a number of things that are for commercial, for sale to residential or office, other commercial spaces, like the electric storage hot water heater, just a normal size in your home hot water heater, but also the small kinds that are used for mini task things. and move the kind of hot tub that can be installed in your place, residential ventilating fans like that ventilate your bathroom and so on. So it's a great long list, and each of them is identified in here with what the standards are that should be the basis for the standards that should be established by the Commerce Committee, the Department of Commerce. I don't know if that helps you any, Carol, in understanding, but
It does help a lot.
it's a very specific, long list, many of which are things that I was not aware of, and so I've learned something.
Yeah,
But-
thank you. That really clarifies it.
But it says in some cases, they should use the Energy Star system set by the EPA, and they have other places where there are sources. One time it talks about the California standards and so on.
Okay. No, any other questions for this one? Okay, we'll move on. The next one is a very interesting piece that is trying to reduce the methane in large landfills. In my research on methane, I have found that it's 80 times more powerful than CO2 in global warming. So this is a particularly strong area for the legislature to focus on for ways of reducing greenhouse gas. Turns out that 50% of the methane comes from one of three emitters. Landfills is a major part of it. Raising stock is another, and actual leaks in the natural gas system. Those three are need to be worked with to the extent they can to reduce the methane emission. As I say, it's an extremely powerful greenhouse gas that we need to be spending time on. So this bill is for instance, a large land use landfill statewide. A large one is about 450,000 tons, which is most of the counties have landfills that are at least that are shift to a landfill which has got that size. Are there any other questions for this?
Bill, we have one question was asked. What was the third one you mentioned?
The third one I mentioned was leaks from natural gas systems.
I have a question, Bill.
Yes.
Are there other places where this is already being done with landfills? That would be helpful.
Yes, there are. We're following the leadership of both Oregon and California, who have been spending quite a bit of focus on this problem.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on this? All right, we'll move on. This is an interesting one that's got some promise, I believe. It's a tax deferral for solar canopies over large-scale commercial parking lots. This is for parking lots of 50,000 square feet and more. And as you'll notice, it's got a bipartisan sponsorship, which again is a very strong indicator of interest for this idea. And also you'll notice that solar canopy and if you notice, a lot of parking lots, particularly in sunny areas, have canopies, but this to shade and protect the parked vehicles. And so this would be a way of creating more of those, and at the same time generating electrical power for the electrical grid or adjacent buildings. we believe it's a perfect example, perfect incentive for Eastern Washington solar development because of so much sun they have all year long in that part of the state. Any questions here? Okay.
I have a question. Or I have a
Yes.
comment. I have a comment. I like
Okay.
the irony of using the parking lots for large parking lots, which of course are part of our issue of all of this greenhouse gassing for putting solar above them. So you're sort of maybe making everybody happy. Why? Is we have so many bipartisan sponsors, as well as the fact that maybe that Eastern Washington has places to make solar. So
Yeah.
pretty much work together.
Good observation. Thanks. The next, if I can move on, is the restore rooftop solar incentives. And this is an interesting bill that tries to restore a very successful program that was first put in place in 2018. It was so successful that they ran out of the funds that they had budgeted for it by the end of the biennium, and they haven't restored it. And so this is an effort to do that. And it's one of these real strong incentives for both residential systems and commercial systems. You can see the amount possible. And I see that $35,000 for commercial systems and think, maybe Horizon House could qualify for something like this as an example. So let's think about that. Any questions about this? All right. What I'd like to do next then is to get to the second part of our part of our presentation, which is how to express your position, how to do this. And what I will be doing in every instance, every time there's a bill from any of the 12 or 13 bills that we have, I'll send out a notice to you of those of you who have signed up. And if you've received an invitation from us or a communication so far, then you are already on the list. But if you haven't, you can certainly email me and I can add it. And I'll now tell you about how this works. What you would do is you would express your position, and you'd get you'd get this, for instance, would come up for the Environment and Energy Committee. It's a pretty simple thing that you need to do. I've tried to set it up in a way, and I would do this for any bill in which I'm providing an alert. And all you need to do is press that button as I just showed you, and then you decide how you want to, from what you've read about the bill. You can also, every time I send it out to you, I will also give you a link to an explanation of the bill if you want more information. And you can decide how you want to support the bill or not. I'm going to vote pro for this myself, and then I would fill in my name, my first name, my last name.
Bill, I need you to share your other screen.
I'm sorry?
Share the other screen for the page.
Okay, I didn't
Thank you.
do that. Oh, boy. Sorry about that, folks. I guess I'm the only one who saw that. All right, let's start over again. Can you see it now? Can you see, do you have the screen now?
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
We can see it.
Okay, good. Then I'll start over again, and I'm sorry for that oversight. Here is what you would see when you have clicked on that link I showed you in the last screen. And this would come up, and it would tells you that you need to express your views on this an hour before the hearing starts. It starts at 10 o'clock, and you would need to express your position before 10 o'clock. And I will always, as I send these out, remind you of that and give you the time in which you're to express your opinion one way or the other. And you have a selection here, pro, con, or other. And some people don't like, they want to show that they're looking at things, but they don't want to vote one way or the other, pro or con. So in this instance, I've chosen to go pro, and then I would put my name, my address, or my first name, my last name, my email, the address that I live at, the city, the state, and the zip, and my phone number. And this is what they call registration. This is only for you to look at. They don't care at this point if you need to be a citizen of the state. That's why the address is so important. But you don't have to register as a lobbyist or anything. This is basically given to you as a citizen of the state. And the last thing I do is hit the I'm not a robot and then submit registration. Now since I've already filled this out previously, I'm not going to do it again because that would just show me my name would come up a couple of times, and it's not necessary. So with that said, and our presentation, we'd be interested if other people have any questions, or if you've got questions about this process itself. First of all, why don't we ask the question of our panelists? Are there any thing that I've described, or I've missed something that I need to remind people of?
Bill, I have a question.
Sure.
You said you have to do this an hour before the committee meets.
Mhm.
Does that mean I have to go on, say, if it's a 10 o'clock meeting at 9 o'clock? Or
No.
could I go on the day before?
You can go on right now. Or yes, the day before is fine. You just, the last time you can do this is an hour before the actual hearing. So thank you for that clarifying question.
Okay.
Anything
I have a
else?
couple of questions.
Okay.
I have to come out of the closet as one of the people who is passionate about these issues, but is intimidated by electronics and by weighing in this way. So I want to be sure that I understand. So first of all, I get the link, and I get the link by emailing you, right?
That's correct.
Then, but do I have to have a password for this?
You do not, but let me go back and make
Okay.
sure that I was clear on this. In order for you to get the link, you need to be on the list of people that I contact. And for instance, I have everyone on the Environment Committee and is on the list. But I've also increased a number of other people, and I've emailed them to see if they're interested. So if you don't think you're on, or even if you don't know, just send me a note, and I'll put you on the list to be able to get this information on a bill by bill basis.
Okay, so I need to email you to ask to get on the list. Then,
Please.
should I say I'm representing Horizon House? I see it. There's a space for organization.
No, that's a great question, and thanks for that. You are only representing yourself, and you don't fill in where it says, "Are you testifying as official representation?" No one, none of our residents should be filling that in.
And this particular form doesn't allow me to make a comment. It just has me weigh in pro con or neither. Is that right? I can't make a comment this way.
Well, I've made a decision to get it this way on purpose. If you wish to do that,
Uh-huh.
email me and I can work with you to get the other option available to you.
Well, this looks amazingly easy. I thought it would take, an hour or something, and it looks like you could do it in just a couple of minutes. Is that right?
Well, I would hope so.
Okay. I'm
Bill,
in.
We have a question from Adele Reynolds.
I did see a raised hand from Adele Reynolds, I believe. Risa, would you, I saw that come up on the screen. Did you see that yourself?
I did, and if Adele can unmute herself, she can ask her question. Maybe Adele stepped away at the time.
Well, maybe she'll come back in a few minutes. Are there other questions?
Well, I've heard really good things about the way that the League of Women Voters provides a way to weigh in with the legislature. And is this the same way?
It is, and I need to acknowledge that I got quite a bit of help from the technical folks at League of Women Voters in order to put this easy way on. So thanks to them, we were able to do this. And so appreciate, there she is again, Adele Reynolds raised hand.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, I just didn't know to unmute myself before I went into the Washington State Legislature Committee sign-in department, and your link just worked amazingly fast. There I was in the middle of it, just plunking my way down when all of a sudden I heard you and Risa talking that you saw my hand. So I just, I'm pleased to have gotten in. Have you got the whole gang in on your Zoom call?
Well, it depends on what you call the whole gang. Hopefully the other environment committee members are here, and there are, of course, 5 helping me with this presentation. And I also was able to get this invitation out to all of the League of Women Voters members who are residents of the First Hill unit.
Well, I did not get it that way.
Okay.
I phoned the front desk and they were able to give it to me. I looked for it somewhere and I didn't see a Zoom link.
Oh, dear.
I'm sorry for that. I worked with your representative that you suggested last night and sent it to her. Maybe.
Well, maybe she sent so many today that have had several moving targets going that I just hadn't connected with the right one.
Well, thank you.
So great.
Thank you for your effort to get on. I appreciate it.
Well, this is great.
Bill,
I see a hand raised, I think, by Ruth Mulligan.
well, it's in the screen that belongs to Ruth Mulligan, but it's Jean Durning. Because it took you a few minutes to get to this legislative record screen, I wanted to make sure that the screen before that was an example of you simply saying to click on that screen to come down, but it wasn't related to any particular bills. do you have a screen that has an example of a particular bill and what you say about that bill? And the
It's
click from
right
that?
here. This is, if you look at this, this is keyed in just for House Bill 1766. If you look at the sign in, and what I will do every time I'll do this individually, which
Okay.
means every time there's a hearing on a bill in one of the committees, and of course, each bill has to go through hearings in both houses. So there's lots of opportunity to comment on a bill with a different committee, or if it's not what they call the policy committee, if it's got money in it, then it also goes to the finance or the ways and means committee. So there are numbers of committee opportunities over the next month for each of these bills that is moving along the path. As I said, I only had a few that I showed you, and there are many more, as I said, at least 12 that I'm following. And each time I see that there's a hearing coming up, I will put this link together for that specific bill so that you don't have to search around for it. Does that answer your question, Jean?
I think so, but in the form that you have given us as a weekly list of things that.
Well, I have done that, and what I've learned is that that's information for some people, but a lot of others think that's it's just too much. And so rather than, I will continue to do that as a way of just letting you know generally how things are going. But the important thing is to try to get people to actually comment on bills. And
Right.
I'm finding that the best way to do that is this technique where I focus just on one bill and send that to you. And always when I do that, I'll put you can also, there will be the number of the bill in blue, and you can click on that as well, which I didn't demonstrate tonight. And that'll give you a window into the description of the bill if what you have so far isn't enough. So I think we can do both, and I think will be an effective way of reaching out.
Thank you very much. I know you've put a huge amount of effort into this bill, but many of us appreciate several phrases that explain what this bill is about. If it's at the very bottom of the actual bill, it says this is to be known as the clean heat bill. That may or may not matter, but the phrases that you have used here in this presentation in general, just a line or two, helps. And in some cases, we want some examples, or we might want to know how to find a little bit more, like how to reach the summary that the legislature puts out, or some other phrase.
So that is what if you click on the number of the bill, and that is a hyperlink, and that'll take you to the summary. So you'll have both. You'll have this, as well as in the piece that I send you, as well as this piece, as well as the number of the bill as a hyperlink. Then you can click on that and also get that information. I didn't know that.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay.
I think Ruth has her hand raised. Is that right?
No, that was
still Jean.
Jean,
Okay.
because I knew she had a little bit more.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other
Yeah.
questions?
He said it.
Well, I have a comment. First of all, I think this is just fabulous because it makes it so easy to comment before a committee hearing. And before, I always thought that the only way you could influence legislation was to contact our own legislators. And this way you're contacting the committee and expressing a point of view, pro or con. It's much more effective, I think, instead of just contacting our own legislators. On the other hand, I do think it's important for us to still be in touch with our legislators. And I've been really excited to see how many of these bills you mentioned were sponsored or co-sponsored by Nicole Macri or Frank Chop or Senator Peterson. And so probably what we most need to do with them is thank them for what they've been doing in terms of legislation related to the environment.
No, but you.
I couldn't agree more, and I should have pointed that out earlier in the presentation, because and to highlight to all of you, all of the bills and the others that I haven't even shown you, you'll see that they are on almost all of the bills that we're promoting. So yes, I agree, Jeanette, that it would be really good to say thank you. I know they appreciate that. If you recall, when they presented their ideas in the December forum at the Horizon House, they all related to the importance of hearing from all of us and how important that was in the deliberations that go on. So I think that's where we really got started to try to work on this and get it so it's something that's available without a tremendous amount of technical knowledge, which is kind of hard for folks like us who weren't raised in this area of technology. With that said, are there any other questions? Risa, are there anybody in the chat that's put a question out?
No.
Okay. Well, with that as an end, I want to really thank all of the folks that have tuned in for their interest. Hope that you can follow up and that we'll hear from you in terms of your interest in signing into bills or committing your position on a bill that we're interested in. And please let us know. I did give you my email address. It's also in the phone book, so you can look at it up if you missed it. Oh, wait a minute. I see Adele Reynolds has another hand. Adele?
Okay, this time I can hold down the space bar. It seems to work. Do you hear me?
I can.
Okay, good. I just went in off your big chart to make a comment on that first bill. And I just wanted to share my experience. There seems to be more than one way to use that. Other times I've just done a pro or a con, but this one had me going in to make a comment. And if there was an opportunity to click anywhere, it insisted that I click. In other words, it wanted me to send a written comment to my 3 legislators that I had clicked before, write out in text what my comment was on the specifics of the bill. And it wasn't until I had clicked that it was willing to send my comment. So if it won't take your what you've put in, just look for another space that needs something put in. And when you get all the lines filled in, why, then indeed it does send all right.
Well, yeah, that's a more complicated option. And as I said a few minutes ago, you might not have heard me, but I would certainly work with anyone interested in getting more detail. There are 3 options. There is an option to comment on a bill in writing. There's an option which says you'd like to testify, and then there's this option.
Yeah.
And this is the simplest way to have your voice heard one way or the other. And so that was why I opted for this, is this, because the feedback I've been getting is that you need to be much more adept at the web, at the computer and so forth to do those others than there is to this. And I focused on trying to make it as simple as I could. However, I would be very interested, Adele, if there are some other ways that you would like to comment. I'd be happy to work with you and make sure you get those.
Well, I was able to get the comment, but I don't know how I happened to go that route, because I was not sent via the pro or con, which I thought you would have selected, and you must have. So maybe because I came out and in again.
No, you what you got there was an earlier version of our work, and we've learned, you learn a lot as you do this. And so you might not have heard, but we really had the help of the League of Women Voters. Marty helped us come up with this very simple. Yes. And so he led me to this approach, and I just thought this was the best approach to start with. But
I agree.
You have to stop here. So, but as it stands, what I will do always is at least highlight all of the hearings of the bills we're interested in, and give you an alert with that, with this option. And if you want more, we can certainly work on that.
Bill?
Yes.
One more thing about the pro and con. I kind of wondered how important that was, but I have heard you say that the committee sees the whole roster of how many people have registered and bothered to let them know that they are either in favor or opposed to the legislation, and that can have a real influence on the committee. And so
yes.
it's good, of course, to make a specific comment and say something brilliant, but just registering pro or con also has an impact. Isn't that correct?
That is a very good point, Jeanette. That's why I think we've focused on this approach. I think that this is the most effective. This is a vote, one way or the other. And that is what legislators really want to know as much as anything. There are plenty of people who are testifying and so forth on a more formal basis. And so I think that the pro and con is certainly a way of getting more people involved. And of course, then there are the Adele Reynolds of the world who, and me, who like to do other things as well. But we certainly want to make sure that we get at least a vote, a pro or a con knowledge out there. So thank you. Any other comments? Questions? Well, hearing none, I will ask Risa to end this, and I want to thank you all, and I want to thank our panel for all of their help in helping me shape this this presentation. And it's been quite an adventure. So thank you all. Good evening.
Good evening.
And thank you for doing it.